Welcome back, folks, to the Mailwright Show. This is episode 205. This is going to be another internal discussion between me and my great co-host, Robert Newman. We're going to be discussing basically his updated thoughts about CRMs, ones that are suitable for a solo real estate agent, others more suitable for teams. And also we've got some industry news and gossip that I want to discuss with you listeners and viewers that I passed over with Robert, and he actually thought I wasn't talking dribble for once, so it's okay, isn't it? Over to you, Robert. Would you like to introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
I'd love to. Hey guys, my name is Robert Newman. I'm the founder of a marketing company and the writer of a blog called Inbound Real Estate Marketing, and the website is inboundrem.com. I talk about real estate marketing, an industry I've been servicing for the last 12 years, mostly as a sales and SEO expert. And I do the show with John, and we try to give you the best advice that we can to talk to you about real estate marketing tools. What can you do to increase the leads and the business that you're getting? And occasionally, like we're going to do today, we kind of branch off and talk about our opinions on the industry as a whole.
Yes, and I'm the founder of Mailwright. What is Mailwright? It's a full suite of marketing tools that put you in front of your local community, and builds a lead generation tool that actually works. We have about 4 different elements to it. We've been refining it, building it. Go and have a look at the Mailwright website. If you want a free demo and for me to have a discussion and show you the power of the program, you can book that straight on the website. Now, before we go into our main topic, which is our CMs, I was putting this to Robert, is that I think there's a bit of a fixation in the real estate industry, and especially on other, I won't name them, but on other real estate focused podcasts. Okay. And that's around production numbers, about how many homes you sold last year or how many homes you're projected to sell this year, your gross and your net sales figures. You know, are you one of what is classified as real hot producers? That this term that you're going to sell over 100 houses plus this year. And there's a lot of focus on that. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I think if you're really just going to be somebody that just sells 2 to 4 homes a year, I just don't think you can build enough experience. And this is only my honest opinion. I just don't think you can build enough experience and have enough resources financially and personally to really represent your client to the best. I'm sorry, so a lot of people would disagree with me, but that's what I feel, honestly. On the other hand, if your aim is only to sell 20 to 30 houses a year, I think that's totally acceptable. I think you can make a really nice living doing that without being totally stressed out. So, you know, I mean, absolutely. I think, don't get me wrong, if the person has a power team and has listened to what me and Robert have been saying over the past 8 months, and especially to our guests, and they have systems and a power team in place, I'm sure they can handle 100 plus houses a year. But what happens if they don't have those systems in place? That they're totally stressed out, that they can't, they've got 15 balls up in the air and they're really good jugglers, but they're not really representing any of their clients that effectively, or giving the kind of standard of service that 6%, if you're getting full what you should be getting. Because if you're a really professional real estate agent, you're worth the 6%. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not worth the full 6% if you're doing your job right, because you are. But there's a lot of agents on the with this fixation about production figure that are just as giving bad service as the person that's only selling 2 to 4 houses a year. What do you reckon, Robert?
Well, I think number one, I agree with you with the constant dialogue about how many homes that you sell. I as a general rule, I think that I agree with you. You shouldn't be that as obsessed as it seems to be in every other podcast and every other show that we turn into. I do, however, understand the concept of saying, I want to take advice from people selling homes, or I want to learn from people selling a lot of homes. But I do think that when you look at that, you also have to look at lifestyle. Like some of the luxury agents here in LA, some of them have very large teams, and they don't sell as many homes as you might think, and they don't work as hard as you might think. And other guys like Christoph Chu get in the office at 7 a.m. every day and leave at 7 p.m. every day. And yeah, I would ask myself the question, do I want to work that hard to get those numbers the same way that those people do? In other words, is the lifestyle worth the reward? And if the answer is yes for you, then you should do that. At various points in my career, I've worked 10, 12, 14 hours a day. I'm not at a place where I want to do that anymore. I did it for a very long time. And even though I do love what I do, I don't want to work those many hours. Even when I love doing something, I don't want to work 12 or 14 hours doing it. So I think the question becomes, look at the production, look at your lifestyle, make some conscious decisions about how you're going to build your business, and then focus on how many homes do you have to sell in order to achieve the lifestyle balance that you're looking for.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. That is, I totally agree with you, which we do have some slight disagreements, but in general we agree. But I do honestly think I was listening to some obviously not as good as our conversations, Robert, but I was listening to some of the competition, and to me it is an unhealthy obsession. I'll leave it at that. I think it really is, and I understand that, like what you said, you want to learn from the best, but an agent that blows up, has mental meltdown in 2 to 3 years into selling 100+ houses is not serving their clients effectively than somebody that's not selling any houses, as far as I'm concerned. Right. So let's go on to the main subject of this show. So you want to talk a bit more about CRMs. It's a subject that our listeners and viewers love, almost as fixated about it as much as production figures. So right. You start off, Robert. What would you like to say about CRMs?
Well, okay. So guys, actually, I want to define what the difference is, because between tools that you should use as an agent and a broker. There are definitely tools that are better and more suited, more well-designed for if you have a small team or versus if you're an agent. And some of those tools, you end up paying for the same toolkit as an agent as if you were a broker, even though you're not using the full power of the system that you're purchasing. Now, the list is fairly small, and like in terms of the tools that are really well designed to be between being a broker or a team and being an individual agent.
Oh, I hope Mail-Right's on this list.
I actually am ashamed to say that I couldn't really answer that question. I haven't really looked at it specifically out of the viewpoint of how you're going to operate a team out of it. I can say that. No,
it's be quite truthful. I do say small brokerages, boutique brokerages, really it's really aimed at single to power couples. Maybe somebody that's got a couple buyer agents as well. Between 2 to 4 people, power brokerage kind of boutique. That's what my product is aimed at.
I gotcha. So guys,
It's just to interrupt. It's main. And they're great products on their own. I'm not going to slag off the competition. I think of all the work I've done this year with my team, I now think my product is better. But my two main competitors are Real Geeks and Easy Agent Pro. They're my main two competitors. That is what MailRite is targeted to compete at.
gotcha. Okay, so let's start off with the ball that John handed me, and let's talk about Easy Agent Pro and Real Geeks for a second. So these are both tools that are definitely, in my opinion, and this is all just my opinion, is that these tools are definitely aimed at an agent. Real Geeks does take a nod and give you some functionality at the team level, but when you compare it to other tools such as Real Estate Webmasters, Boomtown, Sync, and even KV Core, it is definitely not nearly as it doesn't have as much functionality in any way, shape, or form as those other tools do. Not to say that you couldn't use it as a small team, because you could, but it's definitely not aimed at it the way the other tools are aimed at it. It's mostly aimed at, and the reason for that is the team functionality. So let's talk about that for a second, so everybody understands what I'm basically referring to. With a good CRM, you want there to be some trackability on the back end of the system as it relates to your team. In other words, you want a dashboard that has your individual agent, the leads that you've assigned them, and what have they done with those leads? Like, have they called them? Have they emailed them? Have they texted them? And the tools that provide a clean dashboard with that functionality specifically included are Boomtown, Sync, and really to a lesser degree, KV Core, and there's one other that I'm forgetting.
Would you, the one you've left out that surprised me is Follow Up Boss.
I think I've left out Follow Up Boss because I haven't actually done as deep of a dive in it as I should. I have actually looked at it, but I haven't done a deep review like I have on other systems. I do think that Follow Up Boss is suited for teams, but because Follow Up Boss is a follow-up system, you don't get the same trackability as you do with Sync and Boomtown, which show you the journey of, it shows you the client life journey, which Follow Up Boss does not. Follow Up Boss receives the lead.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah,
and then allows you to distribute it and send it to somebody, whereas Sync and Boomtown actually show you what the life, like where the lead started off, what properties it looked at.
Well, I kind of agree with you and I disagree with you. This is the reason why I just want to put this to you.
Sure.
The reason why I agree with what you just said, but I think there needs to be an additional bit of info.
Sure.
The reason why I think you've said that is the other systems that you've described, they provide normally a website, and they also normally provide some mechanism to get a prospect, a possible lead to that website. And they normally do that. Not all of them. Webmaster does it in the way that your own company does it. But the other ones that you mentioned, they do it by some form of paid traffic, which is then taken to that website and hopefully converted. Follow Up Boss does not offer that website and that mechanism of driving traffic to the website.
Right. Yeah, no. You are 100% correct. You are absolutely correct. So there is a difference in what the systems are supposed to be doing to start with. Follow Up Boss is a straight up CRM, whereas these other tools are websites with CRM connected.
And I think like there's a number of tools out there, like AgentWise. There's a number of tools, you know, to some extent, LionDesk. There's a number of tools that don't provide that website and don't provide a form of driving traffic to that website. They're more, so there's almost like two buckets out there, which then you can subdivide between single agent and multiple or broker tools, isn't there?
Right. Yes, there is. And so, guys, here's the, and I think it's important to say the following. Sync in Boomtown and all these other tools, real estate webmasters, they all are charging you a premium. And basically the premium is to answer that inevitable question that all real estate agents have been asking, which they always say the same thing, which is, I just wish I had one tool that does everything. And all these companies have been attempting to satisfy that need, and they do so at an extraordinarily high price. They give you a tool you don't own, and then they try to attach all the functionality inside the tool. And the only advantage of that is that you get a clearer picture of the client lifecycle from the first visit till the time that they become a lead to the time that they become a client. And the thing is that maybe one real estate agent out of maybe 5 or 10,000 probably understand how to look at that data and actually extract value. And I'm not trying to knock anybody that's listening to this show. If you're listening to the show, you're a step above your competition and you're doing an amazing thing for yourself. But I am saying this. I've talked to a lot of real estate agents, and I look at the data that they're looking at, and if they look at it at all, which in commonly they do not, so you're paying for this package that you're not even using because you're not looking at the data of what was the life cycle of the client from visitor to actual ROI situation. So, which is the only thing that you get when you pay for this really expensive package. That's what you get. In theory, you also get something like, how do you manage the lead? But truth be told, which is the point that I'm making in a very elongated way, you could put together another set of tools, of which Follow Up Boss is part of my toolkit, that manage the lead just as well as anything else. In other words, you can get an automated response system. LionDesk does the same thing, where you can get texts and emails and everything, a funnel. You can set up a funnel using a number of different tools. You don't have to use an all-inclusive tool. As a matter of fact, some of those all-inclusive tools don't include nearly as good of a funnel as Follow Up Boss does, or LionDesk. So when you start looking at like Real Estate Webmasters, who has the best overall package from looking at a client from birth to death, in my opinion, they do not have a great package in terms of, actually, they don't have a package at all when it comes to creating a lead generation funnel. They have some automated emails that they send out, but if you said you wanted to text, email, and have that all done in an automated way to a single lead and maybe direct them back to a destination page, you can't do that with Real Estate Webmasters, or you would have to jury rig it in a very big way. So they're not great at doing that. Whereas many other tools that you could look at, such as Follow Up Boss and LionDesk, they are very good at doing that. So this is why we talk about these topics so much, is that you have to, it's a very, very large topic, and you have to unpack it slowly but surely and look at your needs. And all we're trying to do is send you to a place where maybe you spend a little less time.
Yeah, I think we need to go for our break now, but what we're going to attempt in the second half is that there isn't one sweeping tool that can match all the needs of different types of agents or teams. But there are certain, individual small power team, medium to large brokerage, where we can suggest, definitely with Robert's knowledge, that particular tools probably wouldn't be the most suitable. And that's what we're going to give you when we come back from the break, folks. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. We're on our favourite subject, CRMs and that. So I think we're given some, with my interference as well in the first half. But I don't think it was too bad. I think I helped. I don't think, like what I normally do, confuse. How are we going to go on about these different, the right tool for the right agent in the right spot of their career, if you like to put it that way?
One more time. Sorry, John, what?
So you got your, like I think we were saying in the first half, for the single agent, that you've got probably Easy Agent Pro, Real Geeks, Bold Leads, and Mailrite. And then you've got the bigger tools for bigger teams.
Sure.
Would you agree with like splitting it up between the power couple, and then teams, over 5 people getting to 10, 20, 40 to 100?
When you start talking about 10, 20, 30, 40, and 100, you're really only talking about 2 tools. At that point, at those larger team levels, you're talking about Boomtown and Sync.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen anything, Follow Up Boss included, where the teams can get super, super large and have you manage it all out of a single tool. KV Core, it's possible, which is why Keller Williams uses them as their go-to tool. But in terms of extremely large team management, now we're talking hundreds of agents or very large teams. In my opinion, at that point, the 2 best tools are Sync and Boomtown, which are really set up in such a way that you have a dashboard that's easiest to look at, that you can look at the teams and layers and levels. And
now when it comes, I've got a bit of experience with Sync. I've got no experience with Boomtown.
Okay.
What would you say? Let's start with these bigger tools, Sync and Boomtown. What would you say are 2 of their biggest strengths and their weakness comparing one another?
Well, with Boomtown is the leader in class. They really are. They've got one of the most intuitive dashboards, and even if they didn't, from what I've heard, the input that I've gotten is their training and management and handover team is pretty much the best in the industry. And all that means in a very fancy way is, guys, that means that if you do hire them, you're going to get trained. You're going to have a management team. Now, that's not universally always the case, but again, I'd say 80 to 90% of the time when I talk to people who've used Boomtown, they always say they got the right support, that their agents got the right training in order to use the tool in the first place, which is an enormous factor. You can buy the best tool, but are you understanding how to use it? That's another question. And
I totally, what I've heard and what I've seen, I totally agree with you. You get good training from Sync as well. I actually spoke to a couple of agents that were using it. But Boomtown, I think in UX design and also support, i.e. training, they are the best. But these are 2 very complicated tools, and that's why they provide a lot of training and support, is that they can do a lot of things, but they're not for the light-hearted, are they? Put it that way.
No, they're not. And in Sync's case, since part of their business model is to put real estate agents into groups or classes. So actually in Sync's case, they force you to externally travel to another location in order to do your training in the first place in general, whereas Boomtown is virtual. They'll actually set up calls and do things from your office. So at least that's my understanding. I don't like the Sync model, or at least I don't think it's as productive. I think that it's very tough to get told that you got to go to a secondary location and set aside a day or days in order to do training.
They are changing that now, actually, because the last agent I'm speaking to, they're doing webinar online based training now to some extent as well.
Excellent. Well, that's good thank you for mentioning that. That's excellent news, because they needed to do that ages ago. And I think that their reasons for not doing it that way are 100% because it was better for them as opposed to better for the client. And that's something that I struggle with. If you're going to,
but the agent I was talking to that spent over $10,000 with Sync last year, 10,000 plus, but they did get results. At the time they whinged and they complained about it, but when they looked at the end of year figures, it did, after about 4 to 5 months, it did start to pay off. But that was excluding the actual budget. It's mostly around Google AdWords advertising when you're talking about Sync. You know, we were talking 10 to 12,000 in just to purchase the platform and get all the training. And there was hours and hours of webinar-based training involved. Plus that you needed to have the budget for them to run the Google AdWords campaigns that drove traffic to the website and then gave the opportunity for the system to convert it.
Right, which is right around the numbers that I've given out on my reviews and that I've talked about. So let's just repeat that back for our audience. So let's talk about cost briefly for the two platforms, because John, once again, very wisely brought it up and created an easy segue. So those are the tools we've recommended. This has been a very brief show. I want to emphasize to everybody that if you're interested in these tools, you should actually go to my website and really look at the drilled down reviews I've done on these individual platforms. They're very complicated with a lot of features. You're not going to be able to listen to this show and figure out which one you want to use at all. We're just pointing you in the right direction. So having said that, Boomtown is $1,500 a month just for the platform. So listen to what John said. He's saying it's $12,000 a year, including the training. That's just for the platform.
That was Sync. That was Sync. I don't know anything about Boomtown.
Boomtown is 18 grand plus the time organizing your sales staff in order to sign up and use the platform. And in my experience, people are approaching Boomtown with a minimum budget of $1,500 to $4,500 a month for PPC. That's minimum. That's on the starting side. That's not nearly as large as some of the budgets that we've dealt with. It can go up to, I've talked to people with $50,000 to $150,000 budgets. So Boomtown is more like for teams. You have a large budget. You're looking to invest it. That's where you go. That's where you go. Boomtown. Sync, same thing.
Well, it's just to wrap up, and then we go on to some. Hopefully, we can do some bonus content, which you'll be able to see and listen to on the MailRight YouTube channel. But just before we wrap this up, you know what I've seen of Boomtown, it's really focused. There's one agent in Reno called Marshalls that really uses Boomtown. It's the key, and they use a lot of radio advertising as well. And billboards, radio advertising, Boomtown, right?
Right.
And it's not the biggest brokerage in Reno, but it's one of the more technology advanced players in Reno. I know slightly the principal, great salesman. And it's it's bigger than a boutique brokerage, but it's a power brokerage, and they use the power of Boomtown to the maximum because he sees his main purpose is supplying reasonably quality leads to his production team. So they've got a lead generative system in place, and then he expects his team to turn those online leads into actual clients. It's a machine, and that's what I think it's really aimed at. Would you agree with that, Robert?
I would agree with that 100%.
So we're going to go for a break, and like I say, there'll be some bonus content because I want to quickly go through some of the less powerful systems which you'll be able to hear in the bonus content. Like I say, the quickest way to do that is to go to the MailRight MailRight YouTube channel. So, Robert, how can people find out more about you and your company?
They could go to inboundrem.com. I release about 3 or 4 articles per year. It's been a little while since I've done my last one.
Well, you haven't been to Chile, have you?
Huh?
You haven't been to Chile?
I haven't been to Chile. It did well in the last 12 months. I haven't been to Chile. So you can go to my website, inboundrem.com, and you can read up on just about everything that you'd ever want to find out about real estate marketing, all the way from funnels to you can find some inspiration there. You can talk about real estate SEO, real estate websites, social media marketing. All that is stuff I've published over the last 4 years of doing the blog. And now I'm down to doing a handful of reviews every year and posting those on the site and emailing them out to the subscribers.
Right. And if you want to know more about the MailRight system, we're still looking for a couple energetic agents to help us test the new functionality which I built in the system in the past 4 to 6 months. And I've been doing a ton of testing over the past 4 weeks as well with them, with the agents that signed up with us to help us with this. If that's of interest, go to the MailRight website, contact me directly through the Contact Us page, and we can have a chat on Zoom, and you can come on board as a member of the MailRight system. I've been blown away by what we've been doing lately, and we're moving forward. So we'll see you next week, folks, where we've got some great guests in August, and I'm sure you're going to find it fascinating conversation that will help you build the real estate business that you're looking for yourself and for your family. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Time goes quick, doesn't it? So shall we go on to, so we've dealt with the two big gorillas in the market.
That's for when you have a brokerage system. So the smaller independent systems, which I think you're probably talking about, Easy Agent Pro, MailRight, Real.
Well, we've got 4, haven't we? But the one we didn't discuss that you know, which is a bit of a hybrid, that I've got a bit of it in the MailRight system, is Bold Leads.
Correct.
The thing with Bold Leads is it's a bit of a hybrid because they don't provide a website.
Correct.
But they provide the leads through Facebook advertising, which then they provide the landing page that then goes into the CRM that they provide, but they don't provide the website. So it's a bit of a hybrid, isn't it? So I see the 3 that I aimed MailRight at is at this smaller market level, which is Easy Agent Pro, Real Geeks, and to some extent Bold Leads, but it's a hard one. You can't really place it as a direct competitor in some ways to Real Geeks or Easy Agent Pro because they don't provide the website, do they?
Right. Those, I would agree with everything that you just said.
I hope you're impressed with my knowledge of the market, Robert.
You're doing good. You're doing good. So am I. So I'm going to say, so in terms of these smaller systems, and John, I unfortunately have to wrap it up in the next few minutes here. It's not going to be a very long bonus section. But these 3 independent systems, like in terms of how they operate, I'd say the best of those 3 is probably going to end up being in my, well, I would rather have you comment about MailRight because I don't know where it is. I've always pressed Bold Leads, but Bold Leads is really a funnel system, as John already pointed out. It's what best in class. If all you're looking for is a marketing funnel. In other words, you get a lead and then you maintain the lead. It's not a website at all. So if you're even remotely looking for anything that comes together as a package, Bold Leads is automatically out. It's gone. Like from your since you yeah. So that's
it's a hard one to pin, isn't it? Because of that factor, isn't it?
Right. So you're taking out.
So let's exclude MailRight because you don't know, you know, you're going to have to log into your account and see what we've done recently. Well, I'll have to show you. But when it comes to Easy Agent Pro and Real Geeks, bless their heart, I love them, the New Mexico crowd. But if I was honestly asked to choose one of them, it would be Real Geeks. Well, what's your feeling?
Probably Real Geeks also. Real Geeks as well. Just to summarize it, everybody, and to put a period on it, it's going to end up being Real Geeks. In the meantime, though, I am going to say the same thing that I said in the main part of our conversation. In terms of all of the systems, with the single exception of MailRight, which we keep talking about, you can go to my website and reference these various companies, and in most cases, I have extremely in-depth reviews, sometimes talking about each one of these services for as long as John and I have just been covering them briefly right now. And I'm talking about individually. So there's hours worth of content on my website where I drill deep into these systems and usually show you them in operation, cover all their features and functionality, pricing, opinions, all of it, pros and cons, all of it is on my website.
And there's also half a dozen other systems from smaller players. They tend to be, they tend to take tools and they tend to package them. They're separate tools, and either they've got white label accounts or they don't. They just package the tool. The biggest name that does that is Curator, because they don't have their own system. They use Follow Up Boss. They use Happy Grass Maker, whatever they're called, for their email functionality. They bundle other people's services into a set. The only thing they provide is a website, but they use third-party tools, and they provide you all the training. So there's another whole subset of the market that does things a bit like Curator, where they're using other people's tools. They assemble it, and then they give a load of training to the agent to some level. Would you agree with that, Robert?
I would indeed.
So we're going to wrap up today's show. Robert's got to run off. We'll be back next week. We've got a great guest next week. Well, we've got good guests for the whole of August. And we'll see you next week, folks.
Can't wait to see you. Bye, John.
Let's get off this.